Hello Stampers, it's Debbie with Stamp It with Debbie. Welcome to Facebook Live on this Wednesday evening. I have a little trouble sometimes remembering what day it is now that we're on the stay-at-home order. Sometimes forget, but today is definitely Wednesday. And I would like to welcome you to Facebook Live tonight. And I'm just going to make sure that all my settings are right here so that I can make sure that I'm actually talking to someone and not just myself. So if you're on, go ahead and leave me a comment. Let me know. Send a little emoji, happy face or a heart or something, just so I know that you're here. And I will wait just a minute to make sure that people are able to get on. So go ahead and say hello if you are here. And I'm just going to get my stuff a little bit organized here and get ready to show you what I'm showing you today. And today, just so you know, for those of you that are on, not just showing you one project, I'm actually going to show you some of my favorite tools from the catalog. And I want to show you how some of them work and projects that you can create with them, and just let you know, because sometimes some of those things get overlooked, or we might see them, even I overlook them sometimes and think, oh, I would never need that, until I see someone else use it, and then I'm like, where did that come from? So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So if you're following me on YouTube, would you please click the subscribe button, and then once you click subscribe, click the bell so that you never miss a video. And also, if you're following me on YouTube right now, come on over to Facebook and see the crafty items that I'm sharing and some of my stampers are sharing. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/stampitwithdebbie. So let's get started. The first item that I want to show you is the Take Your Pick tool. This is an item, a new item. If you have been with Stampin' Up very long, you'll know that we used to have a piercing tool, and they did retire that, and they came out with this tool. And so I just want to show you real quick. And I just realized that I forgot to bring a piece of paper, so I'm going to do a note card. Okay, so on this end, there's a little putty, and what that's good for is when you have this little container of all these sequins, sometimes it's real hard to pick them up. So what you're going to do is just put a little dot of glue down, and I like the multi-purpose adhesive. You're going to take that little putty and come over here to your sequins and grab one, and then that will help you position the sequin right where you want it. I'll do one more. Well, that had two of them together. So that's what that end is for. Now, the other end, so when this is replaceable, it does have quite a bit of putty in there. And when you buy one of these tools, it comes with an extra one of these. And when it runs out, you can get a replacement. So the other end has a little spatula, and that's really good for lifting anything that's gotten stuck on a card or something you need to get off. But you can also lift it, lift your little enamel dots and different things, and put those down so it's right on there. Now, every once in a while, if I have a stamp that gets stuck or something, I might come up underneath here, or when I'm running something through my Big Shot, if my plates are really starting to wear, I like to get up under there with because sometimes the piece of paper will stick to the cutting parts of the clear plate. So this is really good to get up under there and kind of ease the paper up off of there. And so all you need to do to get to the other tools is this end twists right off. And then you have a piercing tool. And so with that, you can pick up rhinestones or other embellishments for easy positioning. Now, one thing that I can't show you, because right now I cannot locate it, there is one more tool that comes with this, and it's a large and a small stylus that fit in this end here. So for $10, that's a great all-in-one tool to have out of the catalog. So again, that's called the Take Your Pick tool, and that's $10. Whoops. I'm gonna move these out of the way. The next thing that I want to show you is our paper snips. Now these snips are also $10 and they're in the catalog. They are very, very sharp and they have a very pointy edge. And that helps so that when you need a fussy cut, like this was some of our free celebration paper. And when you need to get into really small areas, the end is real small and it can get in wherever you need it to. So it makes fussy cutting a breeze. And your large scissors are good for some things, but these are just really good for fussy cutting. The other thing, because these are really sharp, they're very good for cutting your ribbons and twines. They leave a nice crisp edge on those. I like to angle the edge of mine so that it looks nice when my card is all finished. So that's what these are paper snips. And like I said, your big scissors have a place for cutting some things, but these are just really good. They get into really small places and make fussy cutting really quick and easy. So I won't finish cutting that, but I just wanted to show you how easy it was to use the paper snips to cut out items from your paper or a stamped image. So the next thing that I want to show you is, this one's kind of multi-tool. And so let me get all of the tools that I need here. Okay, the first thing that I want to show you is the Stamparatus. And I showed you a couple things the other day about how easy it makes it to line stuff up. And if you have an image that might need several times of stamping, the image stays right where it needs to be. And today I'm going to show you mirror imaging with the Stamparatus. And so that requires another tool. This is the silicone craft sheet, and this is $6 in the catalog. And so if you have an image, and I don't have one already stamped, so I'm going to have to just show you as I do it. So this bird is facing to the right, but if I wanted to do two birds facing each other, this is how I would do it. Or there's a cow stamp that I've done mirror imaging before. And so this is how you're going to do it. You're going to, first of all, put your piece of paper in here and decide where you want the other image to be showing, because this one, remember, is going to be reversed. So I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to remove my paper. I'm going to ink this up and make sure the silicone mat is right up in the corner. I'm going to bring this down and stamp it. Now I'm going to carefully put my piece of paper on top of that. And then I'm going to bring it down again. And now it's stamped it this way, but I'm going to take it out, and now the bird is facing this way. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that silicone mat. I'm going to put this piece of paper back in, because now I need to stamp the bird the way it was intended to stamp. And I can stamp that down. So now they're looking at each other. So that's called mirror imaging. Now I do want to stamp a little image or a greeting on the bottom here. And this is from the, I had the stamp here. I believe it's Bird Ballad. This says, "We're the best of friends." And I just wanted to stamp that on the bottom. And so let me go back for just 1 second, and I want to talk about this silicone mat one more time. So what I want to tell you is it's really great, not only for mirror imaging, But if you have a small piece, and I did not bring a small thing, but like a delicate lace doily or a hot air balloon that has a lot of detail to it or something else, you can lay that image right down here, run your adhesive right over it, and the adhesive is going to stick to the silicone mat. It is not going to stick to your the holes of that image. So that's what the silicone mat is great for. So again, the mirror imaging adhesive. There's also a technique that you can do, and I didn't bring my spritzer, and I'll share that with you one of these nights on our stamping nights. I'll show you how to do some watercolor background. But with this mat, all you need to do is take your ink pad, and you're just gonna lay ink down randomly with several different colors. And then you can take a piece of, well, you need to take a spritzer, spray some water on there, and then take a piece of watercolor paper, and you'll end up with random images. But again, I'll show you that later. I just wanted to really touch on this silicone mat. It's very, very handy. Okay, but let's get back to this real quick. So the next tool that I wanted to show you is the blender pen. Now, I did show you these the other night, and there's a couple ways to use these. So you could squeeze your ink pad and get a little ink in there. And let's say I really need an orange, but I don't have an orange marker. So I'm going to take the blender pen, which I shared with you the other day, is just a medium, and you're going to just grab a little bit of that ink, and then it works like a marker. Okay, so you can color. Just be sure, whatever you do, that when you're done, you just need to wipe it off until it goes clear. So you can use any of your color inks. But the other thing that it does is these are the watercolor pencils, and I'm going to go ahead and color my bird in. Now, I don't know about you, but when I color, I don't like to see all of these really harsh lines, and sometimes it's real hard to not get them. And it probably looks really bad right now, but trust me, it's going to look beautiful. And I just realized I was going to put this together as a card, but I forgot to bring my adhesive with me today. So I'll show you what the card will look like anyways. Okay, so I used the watercolor pencil. I'm going to set these aside. Now I'm going to take that blender pen again, and I already wiped it off so I know that it's clean, but a lot of times I will just double check because I would hate to have stamped an image and then messed it up because I didn't check to see if there was any different color ink. So now I'm just going to go over that watercolor pencil, and look at how it softens it up. I'm going to color this bird, and then I'm going to bring it up to the camera a little bit more so that you can see. Can you see the difference? Isn't that fabulous? So I'm just going to color this bird. Now, one thing I want to warn you, if you're using the blender pen to color an image in, you need to be careful about how much you're going over the image to color it in, because it will start to ball the paper. It'll leave it kind of fuzzy, so you don't want to do that. Okay, so once I have this image, as I said, I forgot to bring my adhesive, otherwise I was going to show you. So once I have this done, I was just going to put it on another piece of cardstock. I was going to use the coordinating paper with that. Put this on here, so let's pretend it's all done. And then I was going to take some of my Whisper White Baker's twine and wrap around the top and tie a bow. And so you can see how simple that card would be just using a couple of the tools. So our watercolor pencils come in several different colors. There are 2 different packages, and so you could choose whatever colors would suit you best. You just sharpen them with a regular pencil sharpener. And again, they make really smooth lines, and some people like watercoloring, some people like the blender pens. It's Sometimes I like a little bit of both. Okay, so my next item is the Wink of Stella. And this is kind of a tool in my mind. So I wanted to put a little sparkle on these colors from the Looking Up kit that I created the other day. So just a tip, if you get a brand new Wink of Stella, there's going to be a black ring right in here. When you first get this, unscrew this and take that black ring out. Otherwise, you'll never get any shiny coming out of your card. Now, you want to squeeze a little bit, but you don't want to squeeze too much because all the color is in here. If you squeeze too much, you're going to get a big blob all over. So there's just enough in here. So what I'm going to do is just, whoops. Ooh, I got a huge blob now. Is just run this over your card. I squeezed too hard, you guys. Okay, that one I squeezed way too hard. Sorry. So this one I'm just going to lightly squeeze over my area. And Wink of Stella is really hard to see on camera. So you're going to have to trust me that it's super, super sparkly. It probably looks a little bit dark because it's still wet, but it's nice just to add a little shine. So here it kind of looks like the sun is just shining on the water, and it makes it really sparkly. And I'm going to throw this away because I've got too much on there. Okay, the next thing that I want to show you, do you guys do any embossing? Embossing like with embossing powder. Send me a little heart if you like to do embossing and let me know, leave a comment. Do you use an embossing buddy or do you just take a chance and emboss without it? Sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I get in a rush, and I don't use the embossing buddy. Sometimes you can get away with it on white paper. On dark paper, it's really hard to get away with because if there is any static on your paper, the embossing powder is going to stick right on there, and then you're going to end up with embossing powder in places that you don't want it to be. So inside of the Embossing Buddy is kind of a cornstarch material. You just want to rub that over the area. And then I'm going to stamp Versamark ink onto my piece of paper. And so you're not going to see any image yet. Let me put my ink away here. And then this is silver embossing powder. And I'm just going to use my little tray here. And I just like to flick it just a little bit to get the loose ends off. I'm going to set this aside. And then I do need to get my heat tool real quick. And I'm going to go ahead and heat it up. Oh, thank you. Someone's sending me some love. I like it. Thank you. So I don't know if you noticed that I did go ahead and pin the post to the top of the page, so that if you're creating anything, go ahead and snap a picture and leave it up there for us to inspire other stampers and let us see what you're working on so that we can be inspired too. And then maybe you'll find some ideas you like on there too. Okay, so I am still using my heat tool here. I'm almost finished. And you can see that I got a really nice, crisp image, and there's no loose little speckles around. Has that ever happened to you where you're creating something and then a whole bunch of little speckles are all over your cardstock where you didn't intend it to? That's what the Embossing Buddy does. It takes the powder, the cornstarch like powder, goes over your paper so that it gets rid of the static. So it's going to create this image. And then I did just create this card by stamping. This is Purple Posy. I used Highland Heather. I just stamped it. I wanted to keep the card kind of simple. So I thought that I would just do a little banner. And it doesn't have to be super fancy. And again, I forgot all of my adhesive, apparently. I don't know what I was thinking today. And so I would just put this on here, and the sparkle of the embossing is just enough that you don't really need any more on there. If you wanted to, you could put some ribbon or you could put some rhinestones, but personally, I think this is just enough because, again, the note on the inside is what's going to catch the receiver's eye more than what's on the outside necessarily. So that's the next tool, is the Embossing Bunny. I said bunny. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk to you about is, I'm going to use my mat here, my silicone mat. I want to talk to you about Shimmer Paint. Have you seen the Shimmer Paint in the catalog? It looks like this, and it comes in frost white, and I'm struggling right now to think the other color. I don't know if it's gold. I think it might be gold. Anyways, it's just a little liquid paint, and I'm going to shake it up. There's a ball inside. I'm just going to shake it up, and then I need a little scrap piece of paper. My little note card again. You're going to take a sponge dauber and just grab some of the ink from the lid. Now, there's quite a bit on there, so I don't want to get too much on. I did put this piece of rich raspberry through the embossing folder, and that's the Flourish embossing folder. And now I'm just going to take this ink and rub it on top of the embossing. Now, if you get too much, you can take the the sponge dauber and just kind of dissipate the ink around wherever you want it to. And we're going to do that on the whole card. And it mostly, if you do it lightly, will just pick up on the part that's embossed. But even if it goes on the other part just a little bit, it just brings out the embossed part of the folder. So again, if you get too much in one area, just keep using the sponge dauber, and it will kind of move it around because it doesn't dry that quickly. I can touch it. It's not going to get on me, but it takes enough that you could move it around. So there's my finished piece. And again, this is called the Shimmer Paint, and it is in the annual catalog. This one is frost white. And like I said, you can use it for any areas that you want to make shiny. So I can see on camera that it looks like it turned the whole thing really white, but it did not. And so this is how I ended up doing the card. I just took the poppies and stamped them on there, put some rich raspberry ink over the top. I used the So Sentimental. I took the piece that I embossed, this piece here, and put it on a rich raspberry card base. And then I used some of the white polka dot tulle, and I added a couple little rhinestones and popped it up with dimensionals. So the card kind of speaks for itself with how shiny it is in the background, and it looks great on all colors, light colors and dark colors. All right, that was number 8. Just a few more. One of my other favorite items from the catalog is, I'm going to move that out of the way, just simply chamois. Now, I brought this one here because I wanted you to see how pretty it looks when you get it in your shipment when you order. It looks really pretty. And some people get a little stressed because it's not going to stay looking that pretty. This is what mine looks like. It's really well loved. And the ink is never going to come out. But what this Simply Chamois does is when you have a stamp, all you need to do is wipe it off. It doesn't leave lint or little fuzzies like a baby wipe might leave, or a towel. Now, I want to show you how I keep mine. This, I did cut mine in half, and this is a stamp case. It's a half wide stamp case that is sold in the catalog. We sell the full size stamp cases, the thick ones like the wood mount stamps used to come on. We sell the thinner ones like the photopolymer ones used to come on. And we sell these, and there are 4 in a pack, and they're $5, so it's a great deal. And I cut mine in half just so that I can have 2 of these on hand, because my office is in the basement and they tend to dry out. So I have 2 on hand, and then I can keep one that's clean and doesn't need rinsed out. So you will every once in a while when you wet it. You don't want to have it soaking wet, just damp. You're going to put it under some water, kind of squeeze it, and you'll see some of the ink come out. But again, this will never come out. It doesn't matter if you wash it with soap or whatever you do, this is always going to be there, but it will not transfer to your stamp. So even though that's really dirty, I'll wipe this off, and if I were to stamp with a really light color like yellow or even my Versamark, the color on the chamois won't transfer over. So that is number 9, the Simply Chamois. It's only $8. And imagine how many baby wipes you're going to save from not having to have those. And it's very easily transportable if you need to take it with you somewhere stamping. So that's number 9. It's the Simply Chamois. Number 10 is this Aqua Painter. If you haven't used an Aqua Painter before, it's basically a paintbrush, but it comes with its own little tube of water. You're going to unscrew the cap and put some water in, put your cap back on. Now, I want to tell you that if you wanted to... Oh, Nancy is telling me to order those half cases now, that they're not in the new catalog. I guess I did not look at that, but thanks for the heads up, Nancy. So if you want those half cases, be sure and order them now, because as of June, we'll have a new catalog, and if they sell out between now and June, they will not get more. So just keep that in mind. So one thing that you can do is, if you wanted to, you could open this up, put water in there, and put a couple drops of re-inker inside. If you knew that you wanted to make a watercolor image like this, and say you were doing several of them and you wanted the background to be blue on all of them, that would be the easiest way to do it, is just make sure that you had some blue re-inker in here, but make sure and clean it out really well if you're going to use it again. The other way that you can do it, and you can do this on shimmer white paper or on watercolor paper. So I either squeeze my lid to get a little bit of ink inside of the case. Some people don't like that, so you could do that on your silicone mat here. You could put a little dropper of re-inker, or you can take the stamp pad and just sponge or tap it on here, and then take the Aqua Painter and lift color from there. So what I'm going to do is just squeeze out a little bit of water, and you'll see it's getting kind of watercolorish. And then I'm just gonna take it on the front of my card. Okay, and then the water that you put in the bottom is not going to get on your ink, because it's here and it's just gonna fold flat, but it won't touch on that water. But again, like I said, if you don't like that mess in your ink pads, you can either wipe it out when you're done, or just use your silicone mat. And so what you could do with this, now this one's wet, you need to let it dry, or you could use your heat tool to dry it. And then when I do something like this, I like to just keep it a little simple. I have a stamp from the So Sentimental, and I'm just going to stamp I Can't Thank You Enough. And then I might add that to a card base. I probably for this one would do Rich Razzleberry. And I'm finding my Take Your Pick tool, because then I would also want to add a little bit of bling. To that card. And then, like I said, put it on a card base and it's ready to go. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Let me grab my card from over here that I already made in Rich Razzleberry. And see how pretty the Rich Razzleberry looks with the background. And you don't really have to do very much else because the watercolor speaks for itself, and that's a really simple card. Now again, as I would with using the embossing, I would probably use a liquid adhesive on the back of here just to make sure that it adheres well, because sometimes with the watercolor you do get a little bit of wrinkling in the paper. And then, like I said, just let your other one dry or hit it up with the heat tool. Okay, we are down to number 11. And I realized I forgot a stamp, so let me grab that real quickly. So what the piercing mat is good for is obviously for piercing. If you needed to poke a hole in a piece of paper, you could use the piercing end, like if you wanted to put a brad. So I'm going to use the piercing side. You can poke a hole and you can put a brad through there. You could poke it a little deeper and you could put a piece of twine through there. Hopefully you can see that hole. And it's real good for that. Anytime that you need to poke a hole so that you're not poking into your work surface. The other thing that it's really good for is sometimes our photopolymer stamps do not, they don't, how do I want to say it? They need an even surface to stamp on. And so what you want to do is the piercing mat is a pretty solid, pretty dense material. And we all have stamped on those long white tables that the legs fold in. And sometimes that surface gets a little dipped in the middle. And so you're not going to get a good solid surface like you would if you were on a wooden table. That's what the piercing mat is real good for. And so you're just going to ink up your stamp. And this is one from Grace's Garden. And then just stamp it right on there. And you can see it gives you a good image. You're not going to be missing any parts of the image at all. So I like to use the piercing mat whenever I'm using my photopolymer stamps, just to make sure that I don't miss any parts or have any voids in my stamping. So if you get a new photopolymer stamp set and it's not working the way you think that it should, and it's not giving you a good crisp image, put your piercing mat under it and try that. The other tip, which is not one of the tools, but I wanted to tell you, whenever I get a photopolymer stamp set, if you feel them, they're really tacky, which is good for staying on the back of your block. But what I do is I might take a little bit of dish soap and wash the stamps just to get a little bit of that tackiness off. The other thing that I sometimes do is I will take and I'm not sure why that surface gets so sticky like that, but what happens then is when you're stamping, the ink can't come off of the stamp, and so it's not going to give you a good image. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just stamp from one color, and I just stuck my black in my orange, you guys. That was not very smart. I'll be able to get it off with a paper towel. Okay, so I just stamp a lot of times onto a random piece of paper until this is almost like it's conditioned a little bit with some ink. And then you can, of course, wash it off. It doesn't have to be that color ink. Some people also swear by, so that your stamps don't get stained, stamping a really light color onto the photopolymer first, and then it won't stain. I'm personally saying that if you're using reds or browns, your photopolymer probably is going to get a little bit stained. That just says it's loved. Okay, so the last item that I want to tell you about is the bone folder. And I've had bone folders that were not Stampin' Up before, and mine's very well loved. I think I must have loved the Stampin' Up logo right off of it. A bone folder, Stampin' Up's bone folder, is pretty heavy. And I like that because it gives me a good crisp edge. And because it's heavy, you don't have to go over it a lot of times. And sometimes I've noticed some of my bone folders that are not Stampin' Up tend to kind of bend backwards just a little bit. This is a really good one for boxes and any other projects that you have to have a good crisp line on. And it helps your card to stay flat. So that's my last tool that I wanted to share with you. And like I said, sometimes we just see items in the catalog that we overlook because it is a big catalog. And there are so many fabulous items in it. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I didn't have any other projects, but I wanted to be able to share that. I will also want to let you know that we do have a new catalog coming out soon. And so if there are items in this current catalog, the 2019-2020 annual catalog that you are looking for, as Nancy brought to my attention, these half stamp cases are not in the new catalog. So if you need some of those, go ahead and place an order now, because once they run out, they will not make more. And same with some of the other items that are going to be retired. So get them while you can. And don't forget, I will be doing a video a little bit later, or probably early next week, of the in colors, the current in colors that will be retiring. If you need re-inkers for those or any of those items, please get those. They always sell out very quickly, and people are very disappointed in the end because they were not able to get those items that they wanted to. So I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the tools and how I use them from the catalog. And I'll be sharing some more items and inspiration for you. I hope that you will take a picture of some of the items that you're creating and leave it in our link over at the Facebook page. Again, that's at facebook.com/stampitwithdebbie. If you need any stamping items, please visit my online store at stampitwithdebbie.stampinup.net. Thanks so much for joining me this Wednesday evening, and I will see you again soon. Have a great day tomorrow.